Justin Rose, Stadium and Main Podcast. You see his Twitter handle right there. You can track him on Twitter and follow him right to his Stadium and Main Podcast. Let me hit you with this before we let you go, Justin. We are 6 to 7 weeks away from August camp. Whether it's a player, whether it's a group of players, a unit, a position, the coaching staff has obviously been revamped to a large degree. What do you think is going to be the biggest key to getting this football team ready to play week 1 and then especially week 2 against Washington? What do you think is the biggest challenge and the biggest question mark that needs to be resolved?
Well, I think we've seen a lot of all right, we're going to play music at practice. We're going to get everybody fired up and the culture is changing and they're going to be, there's this different attitude about it. That's all great. I think they've got to get in the film room. Honestly, I think they've got to get down to it and talk X's and O's, because there were a lot of things last year that I rewatched games and broke down some film, and there are a lot of missed assignments. It's not just, they didn't care about winning. They didn't, have that fire. They didn't, have the pride in themselves. It's truly, there was some fundamental football that was being missed on the field for Michigan. And so I think that with young coaches that haven't called a lot of games before, if any, at some positions, and with the lack of experience at the quarterback position, they've got to get in the film room. They've got to get some practice reps. They better be putting in overtime in terms of, all right, let's get these things down, maybe dumb down the playbook a little bit to make sure that everyone's feeling comfortable with it. And then, they can open it up as they feel more comfortable.
Oh, Justin, one last thing. I promise this time. College football playoff, 12 teams. I'm not going to go through the structure of it because you know it. If anybody out there doesn't, just Google it. But in regards to the number of teams and the format, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I mean, as a Michigan fan personally, I love it because if Michigan, if this was happening in the last 7 years, Michigan's in it just about every year, right? And so I think that I think it's good for college football. It's good for the parity of college football. The hope, obviously, for a lot of people, if you're not a Bama, Clemson, or Ohio State fan, that more teams have a shot at it, right? And so this should help with getting recruiting for those teams, getting exposure, and all those things. It also, just as for us as fans, I love watching good college football games. We got more good college football games, right? What's not to love there? College football gets fun when it comes to the last few weeks of November and December, and that would be a good time. And guess what? Somebody said it on Twitter the other day, but imagine a game in mid-December in Ann Arbor as a home team in the college football playoff. We're playing in the snow. I would love to see one of those SEC teams come up and play them in the snow.
Absolutely. I've run through every year and set it up in regards to the 12 teams and what would have happened, what the seedings would have been, and who would have played whom. And it is fascinating to see the teams in the Power Five that would match up. And just imagine this happening, because it will, whether it's a Big Ten team or another conference team, where right now it funnels to the same place, Indianapolis, and it's Ohio State. That's the log jam. Everybody hits them. But lose to Ohio State, still go 10-2, go to the playoff, don't win the Big Ten. You're a 7 seed. You get hot. Ohio State gets knocked out. You could, and I'm not, this could play out in any other league, but where a team doesn't win the conference and has 2 or 3 losses and gets hot in December and wins a national championship over a team that was the dominant team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, how fun would that be? How fun would it be for a BYU or somebody like that to come out hot as well and shock the world? We see it in college basketball every single year in the tournament. And, I think what's going to happen, if I had to guess, is these first few years of the 12-team playoff, it's probably still going to be Bama, Clemson, Ohio State that come out, to be it. But I don't want that to deter people and say, oh, this is stupid. Why do we even have the 12 teams? Because it's just the top 3 to 4 anyway that come out of it. It'll take a little time for these teams to build up. It'll take a few years. But I think, even if one upset out of the 6 games or however many games there are in it, it's still going to be fun to watch. If a BYU or a Power 5 comes out of it, or even one of those, I think there are a lot of leagues out there that end up with, they have a conference champion, but there's one other team that's just a notch below, or they came out, of the big or the conference championship game with, a 3-point loss or something. I want to see that team get a shot. I think that those two teams in that scenario, out of those two teams, they both probably have a 50-50 shot at winning something in the, in the college football playoffs. So I think it's a better way to get more teams a chance at it, because college football, a lot of times you lose 1 or 2 games and that's it, right? A lot of times it's one. And so I like the opportunity that if you don't win, if you don't play perfect every single week of the 12-game schedule, you still may have a shot at something at the end of the year.
I'm looking at these matchups and these seedings for what would have been 2014 through 2020. And just, again, if you love good college football, who doesn't want to see Michigan play Florida State and Auburn and Miami and USC and Penn State and Wisconsin and Washington and on and on and on and on. Yeah. It's good stuff.
I mean, and honestly, when I think about the trade-off is possibly, taking away one of the games in the beginning of the season. All right. That's a positive for me. I'm sorry. I'm from West Michigan. I have a lot of friends that are Western Michigan fans. I'm not too hyped up about the Michigan-Western Michigan matchup this year, right? I am hyped up about the Michigan-Washington matchup. That'll probably be a top 20 matchup. So, I would much rather see them play somebody, later on in the year that's a great matchup, or even have to, I'm sorry, I'm not a cupcake guy. I'm not a cupcake game guy. It's not that fun. It's great for a preseason. I get it. You want to get these kids up to par for it. But I'd rather see great college football games over watching Michigan or whoever it is beat their, in-state team by 45 points.
Folks, I'm not going to run through it. There are two to three things I hate about it. Check out the videos that I posted on the main channel, and I'll let you know with all the good what I can't stand about it, because I outline it there. All right, Justin Rose, Stadium and Main podcast. Always appreciate you stopping by, Justin. Great conversation.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.